Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope that you are doing fabulous. Thanks for joining for a Shabbat Shalom reading. So if you are new and you don't know what Shabbat Shalom means, it means peaceful Sabbath. And today's the Sabbath, and I am Hebraic, and I do come from the household of Jacob, and our custom is to keep the commandments. It's actually the whole duty of man to keep the commandments, as King Solomon tells us, and as the Christ says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments, and the Shabbat is in the commandments, and it is our sign between us and Elohim. And I like to get on the Shabbat and share some things, and so I just, this morning I sat down and I was in the book of Zephaniah, and something amazing happened as I was reading this chapter. I'm going to read a portion of this chapter where we find ourselves in history. But I shared on the channel, or on one of my older channels, that my son had sat down and was having a conversation with me, and a few years back, and something was said about being famous or something like that, and whatever was being said between us, just long story short, so I can get into this chapter, he said, well, Mom, it's not like you're famous or anything. And I was just like, I was blown away with that, because I was like, I never said that I was. I never, that wouldn't even, I didn't know why he said it. I didn't know why he said those words to me. It was just kind of like off the wall type of a something. And he left, and my scripture was actually opened up on my table when he was there. We were talking back and forth. And when he left my house, I happened to look down at my verses, and it was not in this place. I want to say it was somewhere else in the scripture. But anyway, wherever it was at, I seen Jehovah said, and I'm going to get my fame. It may have been this, because I'm fixing to tell you what happened as I was reading this morning. And when he left and he said that, because I was just like, why would you even say that to me? But then it was right there. The scripture was opened up. I hadn't even read that portion yet. When he left, I looked down, and Jehovah says, I'm going to get my fame. I was just like, wow. Well, he tells our people. And also we have David talking about how Jehovah makes his people famous. Because it's not us, it's Jehovah inside of us. And he gonna get his fame through his people as we shine. Well, I was reading this portion of scripture here in Zephaniah, and I got to one part of this, and I begin to close my eyes, and I begin to just cry out to Jehovah and just begin to speak to him, because he has also spoken to me and has given me a scripture before, and has related the daughter of Zion and things like that towards me in my walk as well. Maybe you as well, some of you. But I got to a place here, and I began to just cry out to Jehovah without reading, before I read the rest of the chapter. And I said something about his fame. And I said, you get your fame, Jehovah. It just came out of me. And unbeknownst to me, and I have read this chapter before, but unbeknownst to me, did not remember about those very words being in this chapter, but my spirit knew about it. I love Jehovah, because if his word is in us, we even speak mysteries, even if you do know, or you put it back on the back burner and you forgot, it's still, if his word's in you, it's in you, it'll come out and whatever. But he literally answered me with the same prayer as I was crying out reading this chapter, and it was there about his fame. I was just like, my gosh. So I'm just going to read. It's the last chapter of Zephaniah, and he goes in and he's talking about woe to her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city, and he's addressing it. But I'm not going to read the whole chapter. I'm going to skip down to let's see. I think I'm going to start in verse 8 says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith Jehovah, until the day that I rise up to the prey, P-R-E-Y, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. Now, earlier today, he brought out a bunch of fire on my table, and those of you who caught that audio that I did, there was fire everywhere. And oftentimes, because of what he has called me to do on this channel, to speak about the end times where we find ourselves, we have been seeing a lot of sacrificial things and stuff like that. It's all intertwined in this last day that we are finding ourselves within prophecy, and you know, burnings and stuff like that. But there was a lot of fire there today in that reading that came out. But he says, you know, in his fierce anger, he says, mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, he says, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. He is jealous over us, people. And we got people that will speak one way and then their heart is another way as well. And we're supposed to be his people. But he says, for then I will turn to the people a pure language, that they may all call upon the name of Jehovah to serve him with one accord. He wants oneness, man. He does. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, even the daughter of my dispersed shall bring mine offering. In that day shalt thou not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. For then I will take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride, and thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and a poor people, and they shall trust in the name of Jehovah. Yeshua said, the poor will always be with you. And Jehovah's showing it here as well. He's going to leave an afflicted and a poor people. And they shall all, though, trust Jehovah. The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies, neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid. Sing, O daughter of Zion. And I begin to sing, Yehovah, Yehovah. And I just begin to speak his name and sing, and I begin to cry. And I wrote down today's date on the Shabbat, November 13th, 2021. And I wrote it here on this verse where I stopped and began to sing, and I began to speak to him about being famous. And when I got done singing to him, I went into the next verse, and he says, Jehovah has taken away thy punishments. He has cast out thine enemies. The King of Israel, even Jehovah, is in the midst of thee, and thou shalt not see evil anymore. And man, I was like, I receive it. You know, I receive those words right here, right now, because, you know, a lot of you all know my story and the things that have gone on, and just year after year for the last 4 years, what I've been through, and he's taking away through this fire and through this stuff that we find ourselves in today, those who are rejoicing in their pride and their haughtiness. And he's taking the enemy away and taking away the punishments that he has cast out our enemies now. And now Jehovah is saying, I'm in the midst of thee, and thou shalt not see any evil anymore then. So if you and I are cleaning ourselves up, doing the things that we should, even being going through that, being cleaned up, but still going through just the end time that we find ourselves in. It's just a real heavy time just in history itself with a bunch of people. Jehovah is saying, you shall not see evil anymore. I love it. It says, in that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thine hands be slack. And so, you know, I do work with my hands on this channel, and he told me today, don't be slack within what I do, because we really are cleaning up the land. We are in the harvest. It is here where a bunch of fire and the tares are being gathered up and cleaned up in this day. Jehovah thy Elohim in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest in his love, and he will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halted, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get them praise and fame. And there it was. And I was like, oh my, I just stopped. I just began to cry. Because a couple verses before I was just talking about getting the fame, and it was there. It's incredible how Jehovah will speak a thing, man. So let me read it again, because there have been a lot of people that have been thrown out and abused, and stupidness has happened around some just gross energy in the earth, and Jehovah says, behold, at this time now, that he's now taken all the stupidness away. He says, I'm going to undo all that afflict thee. And I will save her that halted, and gather her that was driven, and gather her that was driven out, and I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. Thank you, Jehovah. Thank you, Jehovah. So if you've been put to shame, Jehovah going to stand up for us. He's going to get his fame out of the ordeal through what happened to you and us. And at that time I will bring you again, he says, even in the time that I gather you. For I will make you a name and a praise among all people of the earth, when I turn back your captivity before your eyes, say Jehovah. We're gonna see it, and we're just gonna just lift our hands up and begin to sing with all of our heart. Those people who belong to Him, and He's gonna shine, and He's gonna get His fame and glory through His people. I love it. I just want to share something for Shabbat, because I do like to get on and do that. So if you've been afflicted and people have done some stupidness and has been evil and things like that to you, you just know that Jehovah's going to take care of them for me and you. He is. And so sing. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Sing. Because Jehovah's doing a great thing in the hour that we live in. I just want to share it. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Until next time, Shalom.